Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of our NASCAR My Driver iRacing career mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. We start things off with looking at the point standings here in the Xfinity Series, as well as we have some racing at Richmond and at Road Atlanta coming up your way here. But we start off this episode with some controversial news made by NASCAR coming into this weekend, and that was that NASCAR has decided to make an early season change to the Xfinity format by taking stage points away, which they will continue to use stage cautions, but will no longer hand out points to the top 10 finishers in the stages. Road courses will now reduce from two stages before that final stage to just one. So now there will be just a stage 1 and 2 for road course races, still 3 stages for ovals, except you just don't get points inside of the top 10. So a very controversial move that could really be that could affect potential championship battles that were already happening, because any stage points that were already handed out as well have been taken away. So a very weird call by NASCAR, but of course we have no control over what they're doing, and they felt like this was the best option. So nonetheless, we focus on the task at hand. We come through into Richmond Raceway, where I qualified in the 10th starting position here on this NZXT colleague number 10 Chevrolet Camaro here. We would get underway from Richmond. Sheldon Creed out in front for 55 laps around this oval here at Richmond Raceway. Now, as we as well have, of course, our first road course race of the season coming your way here today, which could be an opportunity for myself from that road course racing background, of course, part of this storyline here of this My Driver career mode on iRacing. So hopefully we can be strong there, and hopefully we can be strong here today in Richmond. Now, like I said, still 3 stages at the ovals, and the stages were approximately 12 laps apiece here in Richmond. But there was an issue right off the bat that I was having. I don't know what was wrong, but this car was the tightest race car I've ever driven in my life. From any video game I've ever played, there's actually gone to the back of the one car of Josh Berry, but I've never driven a car so tight in my life on a racing video game, and I was starting to think that I may have accidentally put the wrong setup in the car, because no matter what I did, I was adjusting the brake bias, hoping I could get the car to rotate a little bit better through the center of the corner. But you can see right there, I can't turn on the exit of these corners. It was so bad. I was hanging on for dear life. Some contact actually with my colleague, teammate, and championship leader of Jay Cook there in that number 11 Taco Bell Camaro as we went down into turn 3. But I knew I was in big trouble right off the bat, and we were going to have to take a huge swing at this car. You can see at a turn 4 actually get into the wall, and I just couldn't do anything. I just was dropping like a rock, doing my best, of course, to stay up in front of as many cars as possible, but nothing was working here at this point. I was just trying to survive, and it would continue to go downhill. I get to the wall on the exit of turn 4, coming now to the final lap of stage 1, and it was just a downfall at this point here. So we were not going to be inside the top 10. Now, fortunately, we don't have to worry about being in the top 10 anymore at the end of these stages. No points are handed out, so it doesn't matter where we are in stage 1 and 2. It matters where we are at the end of this race, back to the more traditional style of NASCAR now, as stage 1 did come to a close, though, as we crossed the line outside of the top 10. Things weren't looking good. I immediately get on to making adjustments. I don't really know much about adjusting the car on iRacing, but I just took some swings at it anyways, and as well made some repairs to the car. So I was definitely still concerned going into stage 2, because I didn't feel like we were going to get very far, and we would get back underway here at the very back of the grid. But currently, Sheldon Creed looking very strong, your Xfinity champion, or sorry, Truck Series champion from last season in this career mode. In this prologue, we're still in the prologue, which is crazy to think about now, as we're going to try and force it 4 wide into turn 3. I was unaware we were 4 wide, and we actually make contact with 0, and we're going to go spinning through turn 3 and turn 4. A race that has gone downhill, has gotten even worse, and surprisingly, NASCAR has not thrown a caution. So we keep it going. We keep it green flag racing here in Richmond. So now we have to get hauling the mail here and get a hustle on with it here now. But unfortunately, like I said, no caution. And well, I was dealing with the same issue again. I couldn't turn. I didn't understand it. We just rode around to the end of the stage. There was literally nothing to show here from stage 2 other than that. So we were already finishing the second stage here, and it was miserable. It was so bad. And I was just hanging on for dear life now, as we would bring it into the pit lane again. More adjustments for fresh tires, more repairs to the car, because I did hit the wall again, and we would get underway for this third and final stage. And I was pretty much at this point treating this as just a throwaway race, because we were just so far off the mark. Like I said, I'm pretty confident I had legitimately had the wrong setup in the car, because I just couldn't turn. I don't know what it was. It's the worst car, like I said, I've ever driven in my life here, from iRacing to NASCAR 8 to NASCAR 21 Ignition to F1, anything. It's the worst car I've ever driven, hands down. And it was so frustrating here in these opening moments of this race, and it was not really an expected thing to last all the way to stage 3, but here we are still continuing to struggle here. But we were starting to get a little bit more of a move on it here in stage 3, but I was having to get aggressive now, as even making a pass for 25th place felt like a challenge here in Richmond with the way this car was driving now as the sun is starting to go down. I was hoping as the sun was setting it could maybe change the handling with the temperatures and stuff, that the car could maybe get a little bit better, but no, it was just as bad as it was on, you know, these opening moments of stage 1. Here's I made contact there with, I believe that was Josh Williams now. It was just so bad. I don't know what else to say here. I'm just hanging on at this point, but trying to, of course, get whatever points we can, because this is a short season. It's a 16 race season, so we can't afford many bad races in what has already been a bad start to the season. In Daytona, we finished really rough. We went and won, of course, Martinsville, but the other race in the last episode, we finished terrible as well. So we're about to start off this season with, what, 3 really bad races and only 1 good race, which resulted in a race victory. And with 16 races on the schedule, with everybody going for a championship, you have to be so consistent without the playoffs. So it's going to come down to probably maybe 1-2 bad races we can afford at this point already from this point on. And we're about to eat up one of those right here now, as I just was struggling so hard with less than now 10 laps to go in this race. Right on the back bumper of Clements there into the left rear quarter panel of Brandon Brown as well. And I actually nearly turned him on the exit of turn 2. The car just refused to turn, and unfortunately I just nailed him. And then we were under attack from Brett Moffitt, the 47 of Kyle Weatherman as well. He would get past me, and at this point it was just about nursing this thing home. I realized that we were going backwards and I wasn't going to get anywhere, and that's just goes to show how bad this car was. I put on 4 fresh tires that were approximately 30 laps fresher than the competition, and after about 15 of those laps on those tires, well, the competition's tires ended up being better than mine. So a very, very confusing race, and obviously there's going to be a huge hit to our situation in the points. And we come through now to the final lap here in Richmond. Sheldon Creed dominated from start to finish, led the whole race, won stage 1, won stage 2, and he sure enough leads the way on this final lap here, as I'm just hanging on for dear life at this point. But Sheldon Creed leads the way here on this final lap out of turn 4. He will win in Richmond, your Truck Series champion. Harrison Burton, Justin Allgaier, Austin Cindric, they're all in the top 5, along with our teammate of AJ Allmendinger now, as I come through on the exit now of turn 4, and we're at least going to cross the line in front of that 92 there for a very, very rough finish here of P20, which P20 felt like almost like a win with how the car was driving at this point in this race. So you can see the finishing order on your screen. Winval, aka Michael Cozy Jr., there in the top 10. He's been running way stronger this season than he was last season. And then you can see the points really, really quick there, as we're nearly now 50 points out of the championship battle, as Jay Cook has a 1-point lead over Cindric and 2 over Harrison Burton. So now we come through into the second race of the episode here at Road Atlanta, a race where I expect to be able to compete for a minimum of a top 10 at the absolute worst. So we come through getting the green flag, and well, unfortunately for this race, I actually did not even qualify in the top 10. I qualified P14, so it wasn't looking good. I had an opportunity to do that right there, change my lane before we started the race, which was not illegal. At this point, it's Ty Gibbs leads the way down into turn 1. You got Cindric, you got some road ringers up there of Cindric as well. You got Jay Cook in side by side with our other teammate of Landon Castle. He is all the colleague cars up there in the top 10, really, except for myself at this point here in these opening moments of this race. This is a very fun racetrack, and I think when we get into the Cup Series, I think this is a track that you could see potentially on the schedule. Not 100% sure yet on that, but there's so much variety with tracks in iRacing that you're definitely not going to see the same schedule repeated over and over again when we get into the Cup Series and finally get to dive into everything, slow things down there as we nearly turned Daniel Hemrick there in the 18, as it was a solid start for myself. And right here is a really good passing opportunity through these next couple of corners, because you can do this. You can close right up to the back of the car in front of you, and then you can just send one up the inside here into this right-hander now, as we're going to try and get in front of that 18 of Daniel Hemrick. But Road Atlanta is a track where you really got to get the elbows out and just wheel this thing around here, and I feel like that sometimes plays into my strengths when it comes to road course racing. So we were up to P11 here on just the second lap of this race, behind Justin Allgaier and his teammate of Josh Berry, who we had a bit of a run-in with last race there in Richmond as Ty Gibbs continues to lead the way, but maybe a little bit of pressure there from Austin Cindric, maybe too much pressure because the 54 of Gibbs loses control, goes spinning off the track into the wall. He goes. Ty Gibbs, the choke of the day here now as he completely bends it while leading in Road Atlanta. So a big moment for him, and that would put us into the top 10, of course. And while that happened, by the way, we did get past the 7 of Justin Allgaier as well, so we are now up into P9. Now keep in mind, one stage break only when it comes to the road courses now, and that was going to come towards the halfway point of this race, but there was a bit of an issue here that I would touch upon on the radio. Hey, this sun's kind of going down. Are we going to get this race in time? You hear myself mention the sun's going down. And a lot of these races we've been doing recently have been ending at sunset and nearly nighttime. And we started the Road Atlanta race at the same time as these other races. So NASCAR actually, race control comes over, puts up a message to teams that they will be making the stage break earlier than usual to try and get that caution out of the way as soon as possible and allow for as much green flag racing as possible towards the end of this Road Atlanta Grand Prix here. So we didn't know exactly when that caution was going to happen. Of course, it doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 anymore with this Xfinity season and stages, but you can see now I was putting some pressure on the 16 of AJ Allmendinger here, side by side with him, my colleague teammate, a little bit of contact with our colleague teammate, and of course a road course ringer. We expect to see Allmendinger running better than 7th place here, but here we are running in P8, and I felt like we at least have top 5 pace here today. It's just I was having a bit of a tough time being patient here, that's for sure. Now as I was really having to wheel it out of that final corner, I was losing a lot of traction through there here. Now as we come through to lap 10 laps to go here in Road Atlanta now, as we're closing once again up to the back of that 16 of Allmendinger. A really good run right there. We have to take that opportunity right there. We look up the right hand side as we dive down into the double right-hander here, and this should be a good opportunity to complete the pass on our colleague teammate. Sure enough, as we go into this heavy braking zone, we will clear him sideways actually and saves it. There we do, and now Allmendinger right on our left rear quarter panel. We had a run-in of course with him last season at the Charlotte Roval, where we actually unfortunately crashed him. So road courses with AJ Allmendinger and myself haven't meshed very well, but the caution, NASCAR would end up putting out the stage break here towards the conclusion of lap 6 here. So that would be the one and only caution, hopefully, because that sun was going down pretty quick and I was a little bit concerned. I felt like if we get another caution, we might not get this race completed in time. So Austin Cindric continues to lead alongside Jay Cook on the front row. They're currently battling up at the front for the championship as you would get underway for this final stage here in Road Atlanta now, as no one really wanted to decide when they were going, and it's going to be 7 laps to go. I'm right on the back bumper there of Sheldon Creed. Jay Cook, though, gets a better restart than Austin Cindric, takes the lead into turn 1 for that colleague number 11, and he is clear of that 22 of Cindric here. I'm side by side with the 2 of Sheldon Creed here as we head up into the towards the S's section now, as we're still side by side, but we kind of get ran out of room by the 2 of Creed there. Off track we go now, side by side with AJ Allmendinger through the S's here, but I'm not backing out at this point there. We just got forced off track. We go a little bit wide though. We push our teammate and myself off the track, grass flying everywhere. Allmendinger somehow recovers and myself as well, but not the start we were looking for by any means there, as that was just a chaotic first sector of track. And there you see the 7 of Allgaier throwing a huge block on myself. I'm going to swing it around the outside. We lose traction there. What a save here now as we're still side by side with Allgaier now, as I'm right on his back bumper and I'm slipping and sliding around like crazy at this point. The rear tires heated up like crazy, and somehow we keep it going in the right direction. But a wild first and opening lap here. As you can really see, I was having to wheel this car around, and it got even worse here in the closing 5 laps of this race. At this point, I felt like I had, of course, maybe abused my rear tires a little bit too much, but I still had good pace. But then what in the world is this? We got a bunch of drivers that had just come out of the pit lane for some reason here, and they were quite a ways off the pace compared to what the pace of what we were putting up. So now all of a sudden I'm 3 wide with 2 lap cars, including David Starr. Of course, it's David Starr there in that number 5, but we would get past them and try to continue on our way. But there were still more lap cars up there in front of Sheldon Creed, of Justin Allgaier, of Harrison Burton, who I just sent one up the inside of here now through the right-hander, and Allgaier side by side with Sheldon Creed. Not a lot of traction there on the exit, so now you can see Harrison, he's definitely going to have the advantage down this long straightaway here, and this would continue now through the final few corners. All of a sudden, here comes Josh Berry up my left-hand side. Look at that sun. It is going down, but I think we will get this race in time here as we're coming to 3 laps to go. You can see just how much I'm wheeling it at this point now. The car was so loose. Berry nearly goes off the track, and he saves it. We get back in front of him. What a race we're having here in Road Atlanta in these closing exciting moments now as we're looking at the right-hand side again of Harrison Burton, a bit of a desperate lunge, but we get a really good drive through there, and I'm actually going to get aggressive and get right on his door without just blatantly driving into him here now as Jay Cook continues to lead the race, but Austin Cindric was starting to put some pressure on him in that number 22 Penske Ford Mustang there as we continue side by side with Harrison Burton into the heaviest braking zone on the circuit here as we dive down into the left and right chicane now as we got outbraked there by the 19. I'm sideways, we save it, and here comes Josh Berry to my left-hand side. Some contact with Josh Berry once again there as he's going to get out in front of me now as we approach just the final 2 laps of this race now as we continue sideways. We overcorrect and we're going to completely lose the car, and now we're into the barrier there. We continue going in the right direction, but I couldn't just hang on any longer. I just completely lost it. You could see that coming with just how much the car was starting to lose grip as these laps went on, and it was just so bad here on this final lap, and we had choked away a top 10 finish and what was a very much needed top 10 finish here now as this final lap was underway, and you can see my rear tires are dead. I'm hanging on for dear life at this point now, just nursing it through the S's. I was not even pushing whatsoever, and I am still hanging on for dear life here now as you can see me just turning the opposite direction of every single corner. It felt like at this point now, a left for a right for a left corner now as we head through these final few moments of this race here in Road Atlanta now as we lose it one more time and we overcorrected into the grass, into the barrier we go, and I decided, you know what, I just got out of the car. I said it's over. I didn't even bother. I hopped out of the car and just decided to walk back to the paddock here, and it would be Jay Cook who would come out on top here in Road Atlanta. He would hold off Austin Cindric to win for the second time this season, extend his championship lead by like a point as the rest of the field comes through to cross the line in what was a wild race for us in Road Atlanta. And both races in this episode, we end up having absolutely terrible finishes, and that puts us in a position where from this point on, we can maybe afford one bad race throughout the rest of the season. 11 races remain, and we have a lot of work to do. We somehow still finished 22nd even after calling it a day there on the final lap when I jumped out of the car, but you look at the point standings. Cook has a 2-point lead over Cindric, an 8-point lead over Harrison Burton. We are 66 points out. So, like I said, we're in a position now. We can maybe afford one bad race and that's it. The other 10 races, though, we have to be finishing top 10, top 5, competing for wins, getting more wins. It's crazy to think we've even won a race so far this season, but we've put ourselves in a tough position after a very rough episode. And this episode will continue in the next one where we will have the recap of the Cup Series races. I hope you guys enjoyed what was a rough day here in the My Driver career mode, but I will see you guys in the next one. Of course, thank you to the members. You'll be at the end of the episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.